Welcome back to Fifth Round Radio. I am your host, Tom No from FifthRound.com. As promised, I have a special guest with me today, Franklin McNeil, a longtime boxing analyst. He's recently jumped on board the MMA bandwagon. You can catch him every week on ESPN.com's MMA Live with our buddy John Anik and Kenny Florian. Franklin, thanks so much for your time today.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Appreciate it.
All right, man. Let's do it. How pumped are you for UFC 111, March 27th at the Prudential Center in New York, New Jersey?
I'm very excited about the fight. Obviously, it being here in New Jersey, I don't have to fly on an airplane. So I'm excited. It's a tremendous card. I think right now, this on paper is the best card of the year thus far in the UFC. I think this is just a loaded card.
Oh, without a doubt. Even when UFC 112 was fully loaded before Vitor Belfort pulled out, I thought this still was the most star-studded card, and we'll get to that in a minute. As far as your perspective, what do you think was more, I guess, significant for the UFC? Because they packed this UFC 111 so much to help build up 112, which really is going to be a watershed event for the UFC. Everything is free pretty much for this pay-per-view at 111. They got the prelims. They brought back the three-part series for the countdown kind of thing. Which one do you think was more important for the UFC?
As far
as just making a big impact, do you think that they made everything for free and hyped up this 111 to draw more viewers to the 112 where they're going to be working with their new partners in Abu Dhabi?
Yeah, I think so. But I think that this card, even before the Abu Dhabi card was really finalized, the UFC was really building toward 111, toward UFC 111 in Newark, and a lot of that has to do with, I believe, building or continuing to build the fan base in the New York metro area. Last time UFC was here, at the time, people didn't really think much of the card. It didn't get the attention it should have. And looking back on that card, it was a very good card. But, as we look at it today, we look at this card today, this is a tremendous card. And I think it has more to do with building the fan base further in the New York metro area, because the big deal right now is getting mixed martial arts sanctioned in New York City.
Absolutely. And let's go right into it. For the UFC's lineup for UFC 111, starting out lightweight bout between Mark Bocek and Jim Miller. Jim Miller comes at a significant favorite. He's minus 400 entering the bout. Bocek is at plus 300. Out of curiosity, Franklin, do you ever check at the betting lines at all?
Not too much, but I leave that to some of my other buddies. They get into that stuff, but I don't really get into the betting lines too much. My money's tight, so.
I got you.
And if you've noticed some of my picks recently, you know why I don't bet.
All right. Well, Bocek owns an 8-2 professional record. Impressive with him. 6 of them are via submission. A lot of people don't know is Bocek. He's got 10 pro fights, but 6 of them have been in the UFC. So a lot of people don't give him props. He's 4-2 inside the octagon. Miller comes with a 16-2 professional record, 10 submissions, and his only 2 losses came against Gray Maynard and Frankie Edgar. How do you break this scrap going down?
Well, looking at Jim Miller, and I think he deserves to be the favorite going in. Jim Miller, more so than Bocek, has really changed his game. Has really developed his game. He's a much better all-around fighter, especially standing. And I think that's a key going into this fight. Jim Miller is going to be very comfortable on the ground, regardless of Mark's ability, his jiu-jitsu ability. But it's the stand-up game where I believe Jim Miller can control the pace of the game. He is so confident now in his stand-up ability that it makes him a much better fighter. And I think that's going to be the key. When the fight goes, Jim will be able to dictate when that fight goes to the ground.
Absolutely. Yeah, his wrestling skills are superior. Well, what was interesting to me, because the Miller boys love to bang, they love to stand and swing. I was surprised that Jim Miller has 10 submissions on his record. That's very impressive.
Well, he's got a good jiu-jitsu game. I mean, I'm not underestimating that at all. I mean, he's been fighting obviously I've seen him in New Jersey, and I know what he's capable of doing. I think that his submission ability has improved since he's developed, and what's surprising about his ability to submit people is that he's done it in the UFC.
Right.
He's done a lot of that in the UFC. So, but he has been showing those skills for some time. But his base really is his wrestling. But it's always been his stand-up that has been questionable. And as far as, his brother, I don't really see, um, uh, Dan as really. He's improving in the stand up, but he's got work to do. But Jim, I think, has surpassed of the two. Jim has really evolved much more in stand up, and I think that's the key to his ability. I think this is one of those fights where I think Jim Miller can really, again, showcase his abilities, coming off his win over Dwayne Ludwig at 108. He's going to be able to show and really, again, take that next step to becoming one of the top lightweights in the UFC.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're only, you got 18 fights and your only two losses are against, Gray Maynard and Frankie Edgar, who Edgar is going to be in a title fight coming up shortly, and Gray Maynard is
Mm-hmm.
definitely right on the cusp of it. I mean, that's a significant resume to have under your belt.
And also, it's a situation with the Edgar fight. That's happened. That happened a long time ago. We're talking about like 4 years ago, almost. And it's like at least it was almost 4 years ago. And so that's been a while. And that fight was very close. I mean, people who saw it will tell you that was a very, very close fight. So, in which one that could have gone either way. So, both of those guys have gotten a lot better. I don't know what the fight would look like today. But I know the fight would look a lot different than it did the first time they fought. I don't know if the outcome will be different, maybe, maybe not, but the fight would look a lot different.
Sounds like you're leaning towards Miller on this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Miller, Jersey.
There you go. There you go.